Hey everybody, we are back at the Brand Innovators Retail and Commerce Summit here at Hudson Yards. I'm David Teicher, Chief Content Officer, and I'm sitting down with Tim Goldsmid from Pacific Foods, part of the Campbell's family. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We're going to dive into some fun stuff, but first let's do a little bit of a retrospective. It's now almost February of 2023. About 3 years from when the pandemic first hit and changed all of our worlds. I'm very curious what you learned over the last 3 years in terms of marketing through a pandemic and maybe how that applies to your future work.
Yeah, I think for myself and my team, we learned that it's very important to get more targeted with the marketing and the messaging, and the evolution of the technologies and the advancement of targeting and online really helped that. So as we launch products, as we bring innovations, we're now able to really get more granular with consumers versus having to be broad and try to hit like a target that's maybe not as interested in like a new soup or especially something maybe that's more healthful on the beverage side. So it's been a big help for us to really get focused.
That's fascinating, and certainly health and wellness has probably been one of the most common topics brought up these days from an industry standpoint. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's kind of look forward now, right? We're just having marketed through the pandemic. Now we're talking about marketing through economic uncertainty, whatever that means, with conversations around inflation, recession, still residual supply chain issues. How does that affect your work? Have you changed or your strategies adopted new tactics to kind of prepare yourselves for that world?
Yeah, I think for us, like I manage and lead a premium business, so the word recession gets us on edge pretty quickly. But I think in this day, we've done pretty well for the first 6 months through this, and it is about value. And so in this day and age, it could be value in terms of consumers looking to save money, to manage their budget, but also they're being very discretion. People are spending, but they're spending on things that are important to them. So what we've really tried to do is make sure, like from a health and wellness space we just talked about, that we're providing benefit that they can't get elsewhere, or we're providing a benefit that they're willing to pay for. And so that's really helped us, and it's helped us kind of grow and get more connected with our consumers as we've gone through the first part of the recession here.
Absolutely, that makes sense, right? People are willing to spend, but they're being selective, right? Mm-hmm. So if you fall into that category of things that are important to them, they're still willing to put it out there.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So let's talk about some other industry trends, right?
Okay.
It's January of 2023, the longest month of the year, it seems, and everybody's talking, right? So I'm just curious, what's top of mind for you, right? As you're planning for the year, I mean, I know we just talked about the economic uncertainties and what that means, but are there other industry trends, shopping behaviors, new technologies, things that you're excited about or interested in kind of following that might impact your plans for the year?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple. What I'm really interested in first and foremost is we saw such a shift, especially to sort of e-com and then customer pickup during the pandemic. So as normalcy kind of returns, quote unquote, interested to see like how much of that actually sticks. We know a big portion will, but how much overall, and then how much will people start going back in store? And so trying to balance out what we do kind of in store and online through some of the digital channels with our customers. And then I think the other thing for me, we talked about health and wellness and the space. It's very interesting to see like the just the focus that people are putting on kind of mental health. So it used to be managing physical, but coming out of the pandemic, it's great to see like mental health has sort of come through as a need and more focus and more people are aware of it. So really interested to see how that evolves and people think about their health in totality, and then as a premium brand that plays in that space, what that means for kind of decision and choices. And so we're monitoring to see like dietary trends, changes, and where people are going with that, so we can make sure and innovate and kind of jump on where things are heading here in 2023.
Absolutely, yep. So I mean, that's another one for the health and wellness bucket, right? It might be one of the biggest topics. I mean, and it's fascinating, and you're right? During the pandemic, it was, obviously physical health was at the forefront, but mental health too. And I mean, whether you're in the beauty space, whatever space you're in, there's an opportunity to think about what your brand and product means for health and wellness, right? Yeah. So food's obviously a big part of that.
Yeah,
so that makes a lot of sense.
Right on.
Can I ask a quick follow-up question?
Yeah.
And you tell me if I'm just curious, because you mentioned on the e-commerce stickiness and thinking about how much of that's going to shift back. What e-commerce channels do you play in now? Are they mostly like third party, or are you? I know direct to consumer has been a huge trend.
Sure.
Does that play a factor for you?
Yeah, we are still third party. So for us, Amazon is our biggest, but also Walmart, Kroger, and those, especially as Walmart and Kroger continue to invest in e-commerce, becomes a big piece for us. So we got to make sure our digital shelf is ready to go across the board. And then we have looked at D2C, and we are thinking about, like, there's other areas of our company outside of the piece that I manage where we are moving to D2C, and it's less about scale but more about getting insights from consumers directly that then we can apply into those other channels as we go. And so that's something we just talked about 2023 trends that we have on our radar screen and are kind of watching, and it might be something that we make a move on as we go forward. But again, it would be more around insights and how do we understand sort of behaviors and patterns of consumers.
Sure, and that makes sense, right? I mean, from a scale perspective, right, it's hard to beat Walmart and Amazon, but if you can engage directly with your consumers and learn a few things that can be applied, right, that's a win in and of itself.
Absolutely.
So let me ask then one last follow-up on that. Retail media networks. Another massive trend that every major retailer and then some have their own media networks now. How important is that for you when it comes, especially when it comes to the digital shelf?
It's very important for us. I think it's finding the right balance versus what do we buy through the traditional media channels or the way that we've sort of done it for the last few years. And then for us we're trying to get really targeted with trial. And so we partner with like a Whole Foods / Amazon, Kroger, I mentioned Walmart, with their media networks and many others to find the consumers that are looking for health and wellness solutions and try to get them in. And then having the ability to sort of close the loop and read the effectiveness of it is super important. Then we can sort of scale, we can evolve. And so for us, it's been a great sort of add to our mix in a way to make sure that it's more effective and it's driving sales. Like, which before, you could attribute that through ROI models and different things, but to now have that closed loop has been really key.
I mean, look, there's no better holy grail as a marketer, right, than being able to say, we did this and here's the sale that it led to, right? So if you can get that direct connection and make that connection, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so last question. As an industry, we don't always talk about challenges, but I like to think, and many others, that challenges are opportunities, right? If you can properly address them. So not necessarily personal to you, although that's an option, but are there any challenges that you think our industry is or should be addressing? Where should we be focusing our efforts from that perspective as an industry?
Yeah, I think for me, like one of the big challenges I think we should look at holistically, because it creates a lot of inefficiency, is as consumers evolve, as channels evolve, as agencies evolve, like the traditional agency model is sort of out the window. So there are more partners, there's more channels, there's more way to connect as you do your annual plans. So streamlining that, figuring out sort of best practices and approaches to bring it together, I think could make the whole industry more effective. I know sometimes, our agency partners struggle or we struggle, and then that's not good for anyone. So I think if we can get that together and kind of evolve how we plan and collaborate from an agency and from a CPG and a partner standpoint, it'll just make things more effective as we go forward and ultimately make us more effective too with the consumers.
Absolutely. I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here, Tim. Like I said, this is just the kickoff of a big retail commerce series that we'll be producing throughout the year. So hopefully we'll have you back again, and appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, all right. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.